everybody wants to know, where the company comes from. And, in this world, there are many, many entrepreneurs, and everybody has their idea of like, oh my goodness, the quantum thing is the deal. And they want to, capitalize in it. And they, they'll purchase some type of a frequency machine or something, and they'll look up some codes on the internet or something like that. But what I can tell you about me is I think I'm probably a little different than most people. And that is that my entire life I've been interested in electrical things. So, and my story I was telling Brian, I can't believe it. It's sort of like predestined that I would be here. And because it started when I was a little kid, maybe 4 or 5 years old, which was a long time ago. So we had a TV set, and I would watch TV when I was a little kid, and I thought there's people inside of there. And how did they get there? Asking questions like that. I've always been curious. And as a little kid, how do you know what are those people doing inside there? And I noticed that there was a cord that went to the wall. And I thought, well, maybe they come through this cord. And so I went behind the TV set one day when no one was looking, and I pulled it out just a little bit. And I put my finger on one of those little prongs and got got shocked. And I then wanted to share it with my sister, but I got in big trouble. I found out you're not supposed to do that. But that was the first thing that made me really curious about electricity and how does it work and why does it work and where does it come from? So I spent my life always wondering. And then I heard about, as I got a little older in school, people started talking about an aura. And I thought, what in the world is an aura? You mean we have energy, electricity? So it just sparked things in me. When I was in 7th grade, I went here in the U.S. We had a store called Radio Shack. I went and bought a little kit to make a little voltmeter. And I had to solder all the pieces together and transistors and resistors and all. And I went around the house plugging them into every single socket that I could find to make that needle go up. And it was just amazing to me. And so as time went on, I decided, oh man, I'd like to have a TV set in my bedroom. So I found an old TV set. I put it in my bedroom and nothing would turn on. I couldn't get any stations to show up, just, fuzzy. So I thought, well, it needs an antenna. So I went into the woods and I found an antenna. Someone had thrown an antenna away. And I brought it into my bedroom. I hooked it up to this TV set. And I could all of a sudden get these channels. I was so excited. But there was 2 channels that I couldn't get. And the antenna was missing 2 of those poles. You know how the poles are different length? And so, Pia, when you mentioned antennas, we're on the same wavelength there. So I cut these 2 poles out of a coat hanger and made them, in the sequence like what they should be. And all of a sudden I could get these new stations. So that was amazing to me that those poles on that antenna made a difference as to whether you could pick up a channel or not. And so I played around with my TV set, all excited. And then the next experiment came. And the next experiment was, well, what if I unhook the antenna and I'll put my voltmeter on it? And I tried every single setting, and nothing. I turned it down. I think it was millivolts or something like that. And the needle moved just a little bit. And I thought, wow. So I went and told my mom, I said, everybody, if we go to the electric company, there's electricity in the air. This antenna picks up electricity. So that was amazing to me. Mm-hmm. So, move the clock ahead. When I, got out of high school, I enrolled into electrical engineering at the university here. And so I spent a couple years in electrical engineering. And I learned, some about antennas, and we did all kinds of interesting things. But I ended up getting my degree in business because I love business. So I'm married, I'm moving through my life, and I had a friend who had an herb store. And this lady's name was Madeline. And Madeline and I became great friends. We learned all kinds of things about health. And I got into energy healing. I became a Reiki master. I studied the different things that, have to do with the human energy. And one of the things that Madeline was selling is she had a little bottle of water that she was selling, and people were putting it on their acupressure points. And it was making miraculous results with this water. And I thought, okay, this is a ripoff. So I decided, okay, I'm going to call the owner of the company. So I did. And I drove 5 hours, one way to this place. And I met this guy. He had a huge building. I thought there'd be like a big factory there because, I had a different idea what companies look like back then. And so he shows me this flip book of all the people. I cured this person. I cured this, all those kinds of things, showing me the miraculous results he did with his water. Well, I asked him, well, how do you make it? And he takes me back into his warehouse area. And he says, right there. He points over. And it was a little square box, a black box. And it had a beaker of water on top of it. And I said, well, how is that making your products? He said, well, I'm putting the frequency of vitamin C into that water. And if you put the vitamin C on your acupressure points, your body will think that you ate vitamin C. And I'm like, how does that work? And that's when he told me, he said, someday you're going to learn about something called energy medicine. And that's when he explained to me the periodic chart of elements, that every element has its own frequency. He said, just like a radio station, if you go to, 102, it's playing a song. You go to, 103, it has a different song. So the periodic chart of elements, every element's it has its own frequency. If you change the frequency, it becomes that other element. So you can't, an element can't have two frequencies. It's one or the other. And he said that when you actually take medication, or anything that you eat, you're eating a frequency. It's not, it's not the chemicals. It's a frequency that you're eating, and your DNA is like an antenna all through your body, and it's picking up the frequency of what you ate. It's just like music. You have one note is a note. You put several together and you have a chord. You put more together, you have a song or a symphony or whatever. And he told me that, let's say someone has a heart problem and they take heart medication. Well, what it is doing, it's sort of like having a radio station that's a little fuzzy where it's just a little bit off. And so you take the medication to tune it back into the right spot. However, when you use man-made products, these products are not in resonance with your body. It'd be like playing a song with one instrument out of tune. And that out of tune instrument affects the rest of your, some other organ or something like that. So anyways, that really got my mind going, and I didn't do anything. I mean, I just learned about it. And so I went on to, that's when I went on to becoming a Reiki master and my energy healing thing. And I started an herb company and a private labeled my own herbal products. I had a company called Nature's Wish. So I did all those things. And then a little later, I ended up, a guy called me up and said, do you know anything about quantum physics? And it just so happened that I was learning a little bit about quantum physics at the time. And I said, oh, yeah, I know about quantum physics. And I went to a company in Georgia that was actually selling holograms. And they were doing the same thing that this guy was doing with this water. And so I got to know the company. I got to know the owners. I ended up helping in the corporate end of the company. And then eventually I bought the company. And when I bought the company, what came with the company was Brian. And Brian was one of the distributors in the company, and another guy by the name of John Schaefer. And John Schaefer is an Olympic coach. You've probably seen it on our website, and he's been a coach to many famous people and NFL players, huge athletes. I mean, big names. John even has his own Wikipedia. I don't know what you have to do to become a Wikipedia, but John's pretty famous out there. So John and Brian ended up coming with the company that I purchased, and we became friends. We've been friends ever since. And so John and I got together, and we decided, hey, let's figure out how to make these ourselves. So John and I started playing with some machines, and we bought the same machines, so we had the same thing. And I would create some formulas, and then I always save these. I keep them around for everybody to see. I would put, this is a piece of stainless steel. And what I would do is I would put the frequency of what I come up with on a formula, and I would send it to John, because we lived about 5 hours apart. And so John had a gym, and he had professional athletes, and we used his athletes to tune up the product. And so John and I put together the first 3 products: the energy, the sleep, and the relief. And that's how it got started, with the products. John and I, the first company that I had that I purchased, it lasted for about 2 years, year and a half, somewhere around there. Back then, over 20 years ago, people thought that frequencies were witchcraft. So I didn't really have, it was working. I did close the company, but I closed the company when it was still making a profit, so that I didn't have any bad juju. Matter of fact, the only people who were upset were the distributors, because they no longer had a company. So as time went on, I private labeled to several other companies throughout the years, and our product has been sold in millions of dollars all around the world, all through Asia, everywhere, through Europe, through the US, Canada. So it's already been a proven worldwide product. You can go to YouTube and type in my name and the word holograms, and you'll find old testimonials from many years ago from people talking about the product. So the product is proven. And over the years, I have improved the product. I've added more to the product line. John sort of went his way with his athletes. He just uses products for his athletes. But John was an expert on acupressure. And so he wrote a book on how to use this product with acupressure. And so I make sure everybody gets a free book when they sign up. And we call our products do-it-yourself acupressure kits. And so that's basically how we got started, and where I came from. So I've been into this energy and frequency stuff since the TV set when I was a little kid. Putting my finger into an electric socket. Not many people do that. I think it's sort of affected my hair, but that's us. This company was started, about 5 years ago, and unfortunately, we started in, basically in 2020. We incorporated 2019, but our software was ready in 2020, and it was the middle of COVID. We had a pay plan that wasn't real attractive at the time. And so, we struggled along for a year or two with that. We changed our pay plan in 2021, and that gave us a shot and got us going. So we've been through it. And I have, learned a lot. And now our company is sort of in a relaunch phase. We have ground floor opportunity for everybody. So that's pretty much the background of Quantum Lifestyle.